Thank you, Radcats. Thanks for having me. I'm DA. I'm the Environment Restoration Manager for Burning Man. I manage a crew known as Playa Restoration. For those of you who haven't gone, Burning Man is an 80,000 person event in the Black Rock Desert that is art and fire, where we build a giant man out in the desert and we burn it down to the ground, along with a lot of other art projects. And there are 10 principles associated with Burning Man, such as gifting, radical self-reliance. My personal favorite is leave no trace. So 80,000 people show up to the Black Rock Desert and we make this event happen. And then we make it look like it never happened. We leave the Black Rock Desert without a trace. And this is on public land. That is managed by the Bureau of Land Management. And we've been there for approximately something like 20, 23, 24, 25 years now. And there is a very strict standard for leaving no trace on the Black Rock Desert. And that would be 1 square foot per acre. That is 1 square foot of debris per every acre that we use, and it's on average. So, and an acre is about the size of a football field, if it's just to give you something easy to imagine. And 1 square foot is about the size of an album cover. And we do our best to make sure that that is close to zero as possible. To do the math, Black Rock City is 3,603 acres. And so that's 3,603 football fields, if you can imagine that. And so 1 square foot per every acre, like that is not a lot. If you were to take that, do the math on that in percentages, that's 0.002. That is practically zero. And we are held to a really tight standard. And year after year, we pass that standard. And that allows us to keep using the Black Rock Desert every year. And it's something we're very proud of. It's actually one of the things that has years risen to the surface. It's not always the first accessible thing you notice about Burning Man or see about Burning Man. It is a lot of times people see like the fire and the art and the things blowing up and the costumes. But when it's all said and done, you know, you imagine this beautiful desert returning exactly the way it was. I like to think of it as a flash mob where we build a giant 80,000 person flash mob where we build this city. The city comes out of the desert and just boom, here it is for 1 week, and then it just burns down and then it disappears, and we make it look like nothing ever happened until it shows up again the next year.
Awesome. Thank you. And what was it always like this? Was there always a restoration, or did that, like, how did that develop? What can you tell me, like, some of the history of, like, was everybody always clean out there? I asked this, like, feeding the question because I know, but
yeah, the intention was always out there from the first time they went out there as Burning Man was in the early 90s. And the intention was that there's this beautiful desert that we are descending upon, and that is really important that we leave it looking beautiful and undisturbed. But in those days we were much smaller, and so it was much smaller back in the day. And so that would be the 90s. And so there were varying degrees of success with like how good we got at this. So again, practice makes perfect. And so we learned along, with the land and with the input of the Bureau of Land Management. And they're like, okay, so this thing right here where the man burned, this is known as a burn scar. So how about this isn't like, here anymore, and we're, and then we figured out to like what degree, to what degree. And then we would make it look like nothing ever happened where the man burned. And then we just, we just continue to evolve and adapt and get smarter and get better at it. And ultimately, this is in our print. It became part of our one of our founding principles, which is leaving no trace, which means that we respect the environment and we endeavor to leave it looking more beautiful than when we left it. So, and that is what, that's really the one that drew me in. Mostly, it's not what I went to Burning Man for, it's what I came out with. I went to Burning Man thinking I'm just gonna, like, I don't know, I was in my early 20s and I'm looking for life, and boy, I found it, and also found myself in the process, and then also in all the craziness of building and burning and community and meeting great people, that there was this really beautiful unsung part where we made it look like nothing happened. And that to me is, and also, you know, that to me is what inspired me the most. And I really just, like, understood. It was kind of a calling where I was just like, I didn't really start off as this environmentalist, you know. I was still, like, fresh out of school. I was a graphic designer, and I hit the desert, and I was leaving those. I'm picking up wood chips and plastic debris, and most things is like broken bits of things, rather than being very specific. And then there was this feeling that we were doing the good work. And there was also a feeling of reflection, whereas we knew that the community cared. We knew, so when I first got involved with this part of it, which was in 2000, I started going in 97, and it was in 2000 where I found what was known as the cleanup crew, which is what has become Playa Restoration and my crew today. And there was only maybe like 30 of us walking around the Black Rock Desert, trying to cover as much territory as possible. And we could tell that people cared, and we could tell they didn't leave it on purpose. We could tell that they just missed some things. And that was very inspiring to us, you know, to know that people knew we were there, but also they weren't just dumping on us. And then as the event grew, the question was, if we keep growing and people keep coming, will everybody understand the principles and understand we're not just some rock concert? You just pay for this ticket and you just show up and get entertained and you throw garbage all over the floor. Like, that's not what we're about. And the answer is yes, the people understand and get it by far and large. We kept growing. You know, we would grow. We were 25,000. Nobody ever thought we'd get to 30,000. We were 30,000 and 35,000. We kept passing this test, this 1 square foot per acre, until right now we're at 80,000 people. And then last year we passed the test actually better than we ever had before. We actually broke a record, and we, out of 120 test points, we only failed 1 test point. We're allowed to fail up to 12, but we only failed 1. And that's a near perfect score. And that's which is pretty incredible for 80,000 people doing what they do out at Burning Man.
Yeah, I'll say it is. And it just speaks to, like, the collective agreement, and like everything that you just shared with me. I think is so incredible about, you know, especially about your journey of not thinking that, hey, I'm going out there and I'm going to be an environmentalist, but, like, as we know, like, you know, you get in where you fit in, and then Burning Man, you become Burning Man, it becomes you. I just wanted to ask you, like, how do you think the scaling as a city, like, because you've been doing this the better part of 2 decades, like, how do you think this, as the city scaled out, what are the key parts of, like, the belief system scaling out as well? You know, because that easily could have gotten out of control, kind of like what we saw with the bikes from several years ago, of, like, people just, like, leaving. What in your opinion were some of the things that actually kept the scaling of the dedication of leaving no trace with the actual scaling of the population, if you could address some of that?
Thank you. Yeah, you know, so one of the things that we, you know, that part where we had that realization where we understood that the people cared, and then we developed a system to provide feedback and encouragement. and then dialogue over year after year after year with the people of Black Rock City. So in 2005, I published Playa Restoration's first MOOP Map. And this was a way this was a feedback mechanism where it's very easy to understand. And basically, you would see a map of Black Rock City, and you would see where our line sweeps, aka MOOP sweeps, would be moving through the city, and where areas were clean, you could tell that we were moving fast. So we gave that a color of green. And areas that were like stop and go, and so maybe MOOP was in matter out of place, for the uninitiated, is whereas a little bit more moderate. Stop and go was slowing them down a little bit. We gave that a yellow. And then areas where it was heavier or dead stop, that means it was what we considered moopy, or messy, and gave that a red. And that means we were stopped and we needed to put more time and effort in this area. And then the very first year, we call it our first MOOP map, and we looked at it and we're like, huh. And you can tell what kind of day we had every single day. It's like, wow, this whole area was green. It's like, oh, this is red. We got our butts kicked. And it was, and so it gamified the thing. This became our sport, and we were able to measure our progress and ourselves. And also in relation to where we were in the Black Rock Desert. So then we published the first MOOP map, and that would be in 2006, where we actually published the first one. We were practicing for a couple of years before we were really ready to start sharing our data, and understanding our process. And in 2006, we published the first MOOP map, and it was, Black Rock City was approximately 40% green, 40% yellow, and 20% red. So green and yellow were tied, and then in red was 20, and and it was significant, but it was a start. And then we presented that to Black Rock City, and they saw the MOOP map for the first time, and they're like, and really, you could feel it was kind of a collective understanding of, now we have a gauge. And then that very next year, we went from 40% green to 75% green. And that yellow, that was once 40% yellow, went down to 20% yellow. And that red, that was formerly 20%, had now become 5%. And so, yeah. And then that was it. That stabilized. And then we grew, it got better from there. So every year we keep presenting this MOOP map, and it's something that people take a lot of pride in. And it makes me really happy that people are really excited when they see they do well. And and I always find it like to be, this is a feedback mechanism, and actually it's about pride. And if there were areas that were red or had problems, we actually had more data, but that data would be shared specifically with that area, the people who in that area. And we understand, because part of DPW, Department of Public Works, we build the city, we tear down the city, we understand, things happen. So we'll share that privately with the theme camps, and then work on a program and tips to make sure that they also, the next year, do it better. And then that works. And I've never made it about, it's never been about shame. It's never been about like shaming them or making people feel bad. And that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to support. We are here to support Black Rock City's effort. And yeah, we just can't do it for Black Rock City. And it's really ultimately up to the community. And if the community cares, then we're good to go. If the community no longer cares, then we're in trouble. And so this is this is the fire we kept stoking, and just positive reinforcement, tips, and keep an education and acculturation, and make sure when people come in that they understand this about us. So over the years, we've been really, Playa Restoration, I've been really bringing it, turning up the volume and letting people know that this is what we do. and really just increasing awareness. And because ultimately, if 80,000 people show up and they didn't believe in no trace, it doesn't matter what the playa restoration crew, you know, plays their best game possible. It's like, it won't be possible to pass that 1 square foot per acre test, that 0.002 percentage that we make it in. You know, it's not possible if the community doesn't care. But if the community does their best work and then playa restoration follows up with their best work, whatever playa restoration misses, because we're not perfect and we have to cover 43,000, we have to cover 3,000 acres, you know, it's like, or 56 million square feet. It's like whatever we miss shows up on the inspection. And then that is what needs to be under that 0.002%.